In the last section, we started writing out our first component and hit an early stumbling block with just the first 2 lines of code here. We are referencing 2 separate libraries, and we're also doing so with this strange import syntax. In this video, we're going to discuss the differences between React and React Native, and we're also going to review the import syntax that we are using to pull a library into this file with. So I'm going to pull up a diagram, the first of many, many diagrams that we're going to be looking at, to figure out what the difference between the React and the React Native libraries are. When we work with a React Native application, we are interfacing with 2 separate, distinct libraries authored by the React team. React Native and React. Again, 2 separate libraries. Each has its own distinct job. The React library contains a bunch of code that describes how a component should behave, such as what functions it should have, and it also knows how to deal with a big pile of components, like how to take a bunch of components and make them work together. Like I said earlier, we're going to end up making apps with a dozen different components, and something needs to know how to take all these different things and make them work together. That is the job of the React library. On the other hand, React Native can be thought of as our portal to the mobile device, like the thing that we can use to get kind of a handle on the mobile device that we're running on. It knows how to take output from a component and make it appear on a mobile device. React Native also provides us with a couple of primitive components that we can use to show simple text or simple images. For right now, we're not going to sweat the differences between React and React Native too much. I'll be giving you a lot of direction on which one of these we're going to be using at any point in time. And soon you'll know which one to refer to like second nature. The next thing I want to talk about is a quick review of import statements. Import statements, like the 2 we have here, are a part of ES6. And you might recall that ES6 is a new version of JavaScript. With ES6 code that we write, each file can be thought of as having its own little separate apartment or cell. By default, no file gets access to any global variables or anything like that. Only by importing libraries into a file can we reach out to other files and work with code that exists elsewhere in our project. So with that in mind, the 2 import statements that we have right here start to make a little bit more sense. This file that we're working on has no access to intrinsically any variables within our project whatsoever. Any outside code that we want to work with inside this file must be imported, and so we added one import statement to import the React library and a second one to import the React Native library. Okay, so that is, I know, a lot of discussion for 2 simple lines of code. Let's continue in the next section and work on our next step, which will be to create our component.